Oh, there we go. We are live.
We are live.
Dun dun dun! Hey everybody, welcome back. Welcome back to join us to cause trouble. As you can see, the wonderful Jeff Hayes is here with us this week. So we just, as usual, we thought we'd have a chat and just talk some utter bollocks. Go over general shit that's going on, some of the amazing voices that he does, some of the amazing books he's been reading of late. He is forevermore the voice of Donut, after all, especially after Matt broke you with that one.
Indeed. Yeah. Well, thanks for having me, Jez. I'm really looking
Anytime,
forward
dude.
to talking bollocks with you. I just love hanging out with the community and good people that produce content for it. So, how big is Lit RPG Legion by now?
I don't actually know. I think we're about 800.
800. Not bad.
I
And
genuinely do not know.
haven't been around for more than a year, have you?
No, we've been around for about 6 months.
6 months. Pretty
Yeah,
good for 6 months.
832.
Not bad. Not bad.
We were actually just talking about this the other day and saying that what I'm going to do is we'll do a little promotion whereby if we can get to 1,000, or when we get to 1,000, I'll give away a full set of hardbacks signed,
Ah.
and I'll just send them wherever they are. So,
Good idea. If you
it's,
can't tell from over my left shoulder, I really like hardback books. So that's really cool. Maybe I'll sign up to be in that raffle.
just spread the good news, dude. What's a jazz? Is it tasty?
Um, I,
Jesus.
yeah. Thanks again for having me on. What's what's up? Throw some stuff at. Oh wait, before we get started, I just remembered. Now it's probably later for you in the day, but I'm always down to join in on festivities. So you brought out, what is this? A Jamaican rum,
Yep.
and I got this Scotch that my crew got me for my birthday over the week. And
Very nice.
so yeah, cheers to this show.
Definitely. Well, it's any excuse to drink, really, isn't it? Cheers, dude.
Any excuse. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon for me, but I don't care.
See,
It's
it's 9 o'clock.
Saturday.
Yeah, 9 o'clock here.
Yes.
The dude does have style, as you are right. No doubt that she'll be much Lagavulin drunk at Dragon Con. You are coming to Dragon Con this year, aren't you?
I am for sure. And though I won't deny I have style, the Lagavulin was purchased as a gift. So someone else knew my style. My crew knows my style. So give credit to them too.
They say from senior Dragon Con, the style is outrageously drunk.
Yeah,
But
yep.
it was good fun. It was very good fun.
Yeah, I
So,
can't wait for
anyway,
next one.
oh yeah, it'll be good fun. It'll
Yeah.
definitely be. It was messy. It was messy last time. I didn't make it to your party when you sent me the message about the party, unfortunately, because I was so steaming drunk that I got lost. But yeah, next year.
It's all right. It's all right. We'll find some other karaoke venue. That's kind of like become Sound Booth Theater's thing when it comes to us being in public events is the karaoke.
That's just karaoke and me. No, 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 no.
No, that's the best kind of people to have at karaoke. The ones that are just going to be, that whose cherry it is our duty to break when it comes
Oh
to.
no, I've done karaoke before. I've been asked never to do karaoke again.
Oh, that's my favorite, man. That's what I love about it is like people who just no matter how
Terrible.
bad they suck will just jump right in, because that's very entertaining. Not from like a oh you suck entertaining, but like watching people build up the balls and just do it. It's the not having a care aspect and the crowd cheering you on just for putting in the effort, and like getting up in front of everybody and making an ass of yourself. I
Yeah.
think I'm a very big proponent of getting up in front of a lot of people and making an ass of myself. So
Singing Barbie Girl and shit. Yeah. There's always got to be something bad that you're doing. You've got to lower the
yeah,
tone at the best of times. Um,
absolutely.
Jazz at karaoke, if you sing, I'll sing. No, no, Jay. That's
Is
not what
that a threat?
anybody wants. I think it could be. You know, karaoke with people who actually know how to use their voice, that's cheating. That is a really good point, Lars, because Facebook user, whoever you are, you need to allow StreamYard access to your profile, because then we'll be able to see who you are, or just put your name on the end of it.
Facebook
Because
user
otherwise,
seems to show up at every single stream. I don't know
every single one.
that guy. I don't know. They must have like that must be all they do is watch streams. Mr.
Yeah.
Facebook user.
Jeff, can you improv us a bit of Princess Donut? How would she react to Jeff's dog shit biscuit? So I have a small
Dog shit
puppy.
biscuit. Well, it
Yeah.
seems appropriate to me to feed dogs shit. So, I approve.
I just, man, it's fucking sorcery. That is magic. Being able to do voices like that. I can barely do my own voice. I can barely speak English.
Dude, I'm one thing I really love about hanging with you is listening to your accent. I really wanna get it down. I wanna get this particular brand down. And dude, I have got to come out to the UK sometime,
Definitely.
and just like I would love to just take a month off and just go out there and get fucking shit faced for a month straight with a bunch of people in the UK and just learn as many accents as possible and just be immersed in it. And what's really cool about okay, of course it is cool being able to mimic the accents, but
Mhm.
being able to mimic the accents means it's easier to understand people. Right?
Yes.
Like that's one thing that, even when it comes to like being an American and listening to media and listening to people talk who are from the UK, there are so many different accents,
Mm.
and there's a lot of there's some of them that are so far out there that it's really hard to understand each other. It's almost
Oh,
as
yeah.
if there's a language barrier, a real language
Oh,
barrier. And
literally, dude.
yeah, yeah, and so it just the fact that it's that they are speaking English makes me feel like an idiot, right?
No,
And I'm
dude,
like, what?
seriously.
Yeah.
I've lived here my most of my life, and literally there are people about 15, 20 miles away in a town called Ashington,
Hmm.
and I will not understand a word they say when they talk. Like literally. I'm fine with Scottish, I'm fine with Irish, I'm fine with the depths of fucking Yorkshire. I mean, they have to pipe the sunlight in the depths of Yorkshire. It is literally a case of certain areas of Yorkshire get summer like 2 weeks later than everybody else.
Uh huh.
It's that fucking weird there.
Wow.
And yet Ashington, like as an example, dog isn't dog, it's derg. You have to have the lip curl as well. Derg, derg. So it's like, what the fuck's going on? Yeah,
Well,
they're lunatics. They are
yeah.
fucking psychopaths.
Well, that good. I gotta meet those people too. I want to, I just want to immerse myself and just be in it, live in it, and like just hear all these different cultures. Like, what's up, Dirg? Harmon Cooper, author of the Feedback Loop, in the audience right now.
The legend that is Snoop
Legend that
Derg Derg.
is. By the way, anyone who is a fan of Harmon Cooper and his Proxima Galaxy, we are about to release at the beginning of next month the first volume of Proxima Legends, which is books 1 and 2 of the Feedback Loop in a package. Or no, I'm sorry, of Fantasy Online in a package, and that series was, I think I took that on for Harmon shortly after Feedback Loop, and so it's near and dear to my heart because Harmon writes outrageous fucking characters,
He
and it's
does.
so much fun to play them. I mean, of course, Quantum Hughes is always going to be my favorite of Harmon's characters, but Fantasy Online has Feetwix, who's like this streamer guy based on PewDiePie, and then
Yeah.
there's a goblin named Hiccup, who is like everything that comes out of his mouth is absolute garbage, and it's so much fun to play him. I back in, I think it was the October of 2018 or 2019. I live streamed myself reading a short story called Jatla is Not a Shithole. And it was the night before I was to leave for Thailand for a couple weeks, and I got shit faced while I was narrating this thing on the stream, and it was so much fun. And I'm really happy to have gotten the opportunity to revisit it because that's also going to be a bonus short story in this Fantasy Online in Proxima Legends Volume 1, which is coming out early February. So you guys just watch out for that. It is this series is pure chaos.
Well, you'll have to promote it in the group as well. Tell us when it's
Will
coming
do.
out. We'll put
Will
it up.
do. Harmon, don't let me forget, or you do it.
Exactly. Fick me, fuck you. I don't give you a big shit.
Yeah, Fick. Fick, Fick, Fick. Fick is the so for anyone who doesn't know, in the Proxima Galaxy, in Harmon's Proxima Galaxy, goblins can't say fuck, and it's because someone cast a spell to stop the goblins from saying fuck throughout the entire galaxy because they were so sick of it because they overused the word, and so obviously the goblins were like, okay, we'll say fick instead, and so.
I dread to think about the effort that would be required to make a spell that covers the galaxy to stop something like that. And then half an hour later, goblins are rubbing around going, fick, fick. You'd just be like, oh,
Yeah, it was like nothing even changed for them. They're like, oh, we'll just change this vowel, done. So goblins are crafty, little
you've spent like
idiots.
3 years preparing for this spell. 15 minutes later, they're all going fick, and you're just like,
Yeah.
kill them all.
Yep.
Love it. Fucking love it, dude.
Mm.
That's a good question, Jay. Clovis and tokens.
I've got to investigate tokens now. And tokens, Harmon, is tokens the Daniel Wisniewski as the narrator, and then his partner. I can't remember. Clovis likes the Mither figures. Okay. Okay, so yeah, I have yet to investigate their work. I keep seeing them pop up over and over. And I feel guilty for how little I listen to Jessica Woods, that's his partner's name. I feel guilty for how few audiobooks I actually listen to. A big part of that is me being a snob. A big part of that is just me being like, I can't. You're not doing it right. Fuck you. You know,
Yeah.
and that's I wish that was easier for me to get over, but you know, I guess that just makes it more impactful when I recommend a narrator when I actually hire one. You know,
Yeah.
but
I was a chef for years, right? And I'd go out once I first started being a chef. It took me years to learn to enjoy food again for its own values, because I'd go out and I'd dissect every meal I had.
You frickin' hoity-toity snob-ass ficker! There you
go. It's also one of those things. I mean, I love audiobooks. I always have. I was when I was welding. It was a case of the audiobooks were constantly on the entire day for like 12-hour shifts without stop. And now it's like I never get to listen to books anymore because I just don't have the time. And you get it, you can be really enjoying a book and you get it in your head, and that world is so prevalent in your brain that suddenly anything else when you're writing, it starts to get like contaminated with that world. So you kind of do it. I don't anymore. Yeah. I just eat lots of tasty food because I'm a fat bastard.
Oh man, I'm getting fat. Oh, I'm getting fat. Need to stop it, dude. I need to get back into shape. So last year, this makes me feel so old. Last year, I hurt my back 3 times within 4 or 5 months. And each time it was just from mildly strenuous activity. So the first time I went paintballing with my niece, and you know, I hadn't been paintballing since I was a teenager. So it was, don't get me wrong, it was fun. I loved it. But, you know, it is like, you know, shooting guns at each other. You need to take cover. A lot of the time cover means crouching behind barrels and shit. and so lots of crouching up and down, popping up, and
Yeah.
just all the level changing. I'd say after the first or second round, my legs turned into fucking noodles,
Yeah.
and I was like, "What is happening? I'm only 35." What? And yeah, the for the rest of the weekend, like I was walking around like a 90-year-old man, like just like stiff backed, couldn't actually stand up straight, tilted forward. Oh man, stairs. I have like really hardcore stairs at my house, so going up and down stairs was like a fucking quest
Yeah.
for that weekend. And the second two times, or the second and third times that I hurt my back, was VR boxing. And again, it's just level changing. I think that's what it was. And so I finally like went to the third time was the worst, even though it was also the least strenuous. And it was I finally went to physical therapy after I recovered. See, exercise is bad for you.
It is.
So I went to physical therapy, and the very knowledgeable therapist did like a cursory examination of my body mechanics, and she was like, "Oh yeah, you have weak glutes." That's what it was. It was like, so glutes, your core, like it's part of
Yes.
your core, all of the stabilizer muscles, right? Like those are really important and not often targeted. And if you don't have good core strength, especially your ass, right? Then you, like, the rest of your body tries to compensate, especially your back. Like your back muscles will try and take up the weight that your ass is supposed to be taking. And so, but they're weak muscles. They're not
Yeah.
supposed to be taking on that weight. They're delicate, and so that's what was happening. And man, it's crazy. Yes, Lars, my weak ass. This is why I am built like a surfboard. Um, so yeah, uh, it's crazy how she was able to teach me how to engage these muscles
Hmm.
better, and it's
You've
like,
been twerking, haven't you?
and I've been twerking nonstop ever since. Um,
I'm sorry, the
I
mental image. Oh, fuck. I've just got images of you doing the voices in there in your ass.
well, I'm twerking so much that I've developed the ability to use my ass cheeks as lips. So I can now harmonize with myself. Now I can do two voices at once, each out of the opposite ends of my body, and
So it sounds like a
I've been
conversation.
yeah, and now I've been doing choral pieces. Um been doing solo choir pieces uh in my booth every other weekend.
Oh, God.
So watch out for those announcements when I'm doing live streams of that.
When you hear the second voice, you know where it's coming from.
Yeah.
Oh,
But it's cool. Like now that I've been exercising my ass in particular, I'm finding like new mobility, which is nice. Like being, I like being able to move around, and I haven't been doing enough of it because I've just been in the studio constantly
yeah.
in the office talking to people, and doing production. And oh man, I'm so glad that all this work is paying off. Same time, so happy for it to stop, so that like get the proper people in place, get this company
Build the team.
rolling to a point where I can fuck off for a little bit, and like reap the benefits of all everything that I've been doing, and like turn into a human being again,
Yeah.
instead of like a slug that says things a lot.
It's one of those weird things because as much as you work, you also, because you're self-employed, because you're in the responsibility, like the responsible position you are, you feel almost like you're stealing from yourself and from the others when you have time off.
Hmm.
As opposed to if you work a normal 9 to 5 job, you go home and you go, I don't give a fuck what happens if the office burns down. I will
Hmm.
wave.
Hmm.
Yeah. Now I'm finding myself, I'm sitting on the sofa with my wife Chrissy on night time, and she's going, "All right, should we go to bed now?" And I'm like, I could probably fit in another 2 hours of editing. I'd probably get that done, and but no, I'll just do an hour because then tomorrow I won't be too tired to do more. Fucking one.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. When you run the company, when you run the business, every every ounce of not working you're doing is an opportunity cost. That's that much further your business is not going.
Mm-hmm.
And that is so hard to let go of
Mm-hmm.
and say, you know what? There's something about my personal life that has to take precedence, or else I'm going to turn into like a non-person. I'm like like you'll even be. I'm becoming grumpier. You know, I'm becoming less useful as a physical being. I'm not I think my voice is suffering a little bit from not being as healthy as I should be. There's all sorts of stuff, and it's so easy. It's not easy. It's you really feel like it's your responsibility to let yourself go to shit. And
Yeah.
it's a bad feeling to have. It's not actually true, because the longevity of a business also depends on its leaders being healthy, right?
Yeah.
So,
I've started this last year going to a personal trainer, and he's brilliant. I go to twice a week and basically get the living shit kicked out of me
mhm.
in the gym, where he's sort of screaming at me, one more," and it is helping. It is massively helping. So it's definitely worth doing. It's one of those things, but it's the worst thing I have to say from going in the gym with him is he insists at the end of each session on finishing on a drop set. So drop sets, for those who don't know, are where you say, you've got like the weights machine and you adjusting the weight on it, and you start at say the 10th level down, and you go as far as you can until you can't possibly lift it again, and you move up one level and just keep going. And so, as it gets further on, because you're not having a break between each of these sets at all, it's much, much harder. But as you go to the next level, it feels, oh, it's really easy for half a dozen or a dozen, and then it's crippling. And it goes all the way up until you get to the very top, which is a weight that is like, it's a fucking slice of bread. That's pretty
Mhm.
much all it is. And that, when you're trying to lift that and you're like, T Rex on, that is when somebody walks in the fucking gym every single time. And they look at you like you're a piece of shit because you're like, I'm
Oh
paying for a
man.
trailer. You refused to work out with me at Dragon Con, you boo. Yes, Paul, because it was Dragon Con. I was drunk. I wasn't
Yeah,
going to the
that
fucking
not the
gym.
time. Not the time to work
I
out.
was escaping to the other side of the fucking world. I want. Yeah, I'm going, wait a minute. I get away from the gym. I don't get my ass kicked today.
Yeah.
I get a Dragon
Yeah.
Con. He goes, do you want to go to the gym? Do I fuck? Let's look at the list of things I would like to do before I would go to the gym, including trapping my dick in the car door and slamming it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
that sounds about what I want to do on
yeah,
vacation instead of workout.
yeah.
Definitely.
You can't feel the pain when you work out drunk. No, you can't. But the next day you fucking can when you cannot get out of bed.
It's even worse.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Hangover and achy muscles. No thanks. I do not wear a scarf. Though I would wear a scarf if it were cold enough. And I don't personally have a problem with that. But I don't ever want to wear a scarf when it's not appropriate to the weather. It just doesn't. No thanks. No thanks.
Not something that we really wear here.
Oh, really? I would have
Yeah,
I would have imagined in England scarves would be more popular, except it like more popular functionally rather, like here in the United States there's plenty of like hipsters and
mhm.
it's not so bad when chicks do it, but like
Yeah,
dudes wearing scarves is like it's like in kind of right now with
yeah.
certain people. I just can't.
In the north, it really isn't. In the south, it probably is, but they're all
Okay.
like pansies. Yeah,
Southern fairies.
exactly. All the southerners, scarves. Nice wearing coats when you go out on a night out. Fuck's sake. You're both 30. Hangover feels like dying, muscle pain on top of that, who'll notice? Yeah. If you want sort of an example of the Northeast compared to the rest of England or the rest of the world, have a look for Geordie of the Antarctic. And it's a sketch that was done years ago for one of the
Okay.
comedy programs. And it's just Geordie of the Antarctic. And it's just this guy who just doesn't give a fuck, strolling around the Antarctic while there's a proper expedition on. It's pretty accurate. In the
Okay.
UK, it's
I'm
something you
down.
put over your face when you rob places. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a lot more accurate. If you see somebody with a scarf on, you're going to be innocently suspicious.
In the UK, it's more like something you put over your face when you rob places.
Yep.
When you're blagging of bookies, huh?
Yep. Lock, stock, and two smoking barrels. About that level.
Yeah.
My assistant has made herself
Oh,
known.
oh, that's a cool color pattern.
The criminal.
Or an ascot. What is an ascot again?
One of those little fancy fucking silk things. I don't know. It's not really my style. Jeff wanted to do a free Twix ad read. Free Twix.
Maybe. Okay, so last night was the first time I'd done a Twix read in years. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm slightly back into practice. I don't know. Send something in, Harmon.
They aren't taped to the wall. But the cat, no. She really should be taped to the wall because she's a pain in the ass. Ah, a good question for you there.
Well, I mean, that's kind of a hard question to answer. I think we did a podcast in on Halloween about horror lit RPG and how it virtually doesn't exist.
There's not enough
um,
of them. There needs to be a
Besides,
lot more.
so it's kind of, I mean, there's so much fantasy lit RPG versus horror lit RPG. But kaiju is one of my favorites.
Oh yeah.
It better have been for how much effort and time we put into it. But yeah, I don't know, man. Here's the thing for me, lit RPG, fantasy. So okay, so I'm good buddies with the Athon people, the Athon crew, and I'm learning a lot about being a publisher, right? Which is something that I consider myself to be now. But I haven't always considered myself that. I think once we launched our platform, that's when I really started considering myself a publisher. And even then, it's like I just started because I was like, I wanted a place. I wanted to figure out how to have a place to continue making money, even if I decide one day that Audible is no longer for me as a producer. I think that time is far in the future, if ever. But I always want to have a contingency. I always want to make sure that, hey, if for whatever reason I don't have to depend on this one source. But you know, thinking about things from a publisher's perspective is a lot different than thinking of things from an artist's perspective, which is what I've always approached things from. So first of all, even from that, I've only been an artist who responds,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, like, the author writes a book and it's either successful or it's not successful. I prefer, as a businessman, to work with people that are successful, right? But as an artist, I don't understand why people like it or dislike it. I don't
Mm-hmm.
understand why things sell well. I don't understand what people are looking for, when they're looking for their next read. I just
Mm-hmm.
take what has been written. I take the assignment. I read it, or in the case of lately, I read it as I go. I perform it as I read it. But I am responding to what seems to me the feel that the author is going for.
Mm-hmm.
But it's neither a positive nor a negative thing. It's like, this is what they're going for. I'm going to go for whatever that is,
Yeah.
right? And then it's either successful or it's not, and that has been a confounding thing for me. Just like, okay, it's either people like it or they don't. But from the publisher's perspective, at least you can look at things in terms of genre, which genre for me has always been something I throw out. I don't I kind of don't care about genre. Again, it's about the particulars of the story that I'm reading. That's what
Hmm.
matters to me. Is
Yeah.
like as a performer, as an artist, what is the assignment, right? But genre, it's like as a consumer, I don't care. I want a good story. I want a good
Hmm.
story that connects to me. I want to relate to some characters. I want to feel what these characters are going through, and I want the connection between the plot and those characters to be clear. And I want it to affect me on some level, right?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's whatever genre. It doesn't matter to me, as long as it checks those boxes in particular. But what I learned from Athon is that lit RPG is fantasy. I always thought of it as, oh, well, it's a sci fi blend of fantasy because of little details, right?
Hmm.
Like, oh, well, it is dealing with VR a lot of the time, which goes into sci fi, right? And, lit RPG has all these different genres that it explores, right? Um, but all the rest of those genres don't sell nearly as well as the lit RPGs grounded in fantasy, like
Yeah.
specifically, sword and sorcery type stuff. So really, it's an aesthetic. It's not about the details. It's not about, oh well, how can you logically classify this thing? It's
Hmm.
what kind of readers read this?
Hmm.
People who want fantasy,
Yeah.
mainly. And really, that's what genre you should, at from a publisher's perspective, that's what you should be thinking about. These are fantasy readers. These are fantasy listeners on the whole.
Yeah.
On average, maybe 80% of them. So
Hmm.
that's what lit RPG is. It's just a subcategory of fantasy, and things. It's weird because it's like, okay, it's sort of a jaded point of view,
Hmm.
but at the end of the day, if genre is just a marketing thing, if genre is just about where do you place this thing so that it gets attention from the people who would buy it,
Hmm.
then yeah, you put it under fantasy.
Yeah.
Like you can't. It's like if you have a horror lit RPG,
Hmm.
can you stick it in a horror bin and expect horror people to pick it up?
Yes, but not nearly as much as lit RPG as a horror, I would have said.
Right.
Because
I
people that are going in as a horror are going to look at it and go, "What the fuck's all this stats? What does all this mean?" But people
Right.
who are going in as lit RPG go, "Oh, it's horror," rather than yeah.
Right. Right. So uh it's like between horror and fantasy within lit RPG. I don't know. I guess it's only the people who like both if they're getting horror and lit RPG. But
Hmm.
if it's generally fantasy, then you're more likely to get hits. You're more likely to get people to pick it up.
Yeah.
You know, and it's I don't know why. I don't know why that's the way it is. Perhaps because RPG um, is so heavily tied to the fantasy genre in video games,
Yeah.
right? Like there's JRPGs, right? And
Hmm.
even those, right? Like you take Final Fantasy, the prototypical, the flagship of all JRPGs, fantasy. It's still like you look at those earliest. Now it's all sorts of like dystopia or like island, or there's all sorts of different genres that Fantasy Online or Fantasy Final Fantasy itself has branched into. But you look at the first few games and they're solidly within a fantasy
Honestly,
world,
yeah.
maybe with some steampunk elements,
Yeah.
right? So even in that realm, right? And of course, Dungeons and Dragons, the progenitor of the entire genre before video
Yep.
games even came about. It's just RPG plus fantasy. Just that's the way people see
Just
it.
works. Yeah.
Um,
It is very much a case of the vast majority of our main sort of most dedicated fans are those of us that just love playing games and just don't have the time to do it anymore. They're so busy doing stuff that you're like, I can listen to this while I'm driving the car. I
yeah,
can do whatever. I get me hit for it. So the
yeah,
Assassin's Creed games are a perfect analogy for this. Those games have some side story about researchers diving into the times in history, but nobody gives a shit. They just want to explore fantasy worlds and assassinate people.
Mm-hmm.
You're pretty right there, Harmon.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, most people, but for me, that's what makes Assassin's Creed interesting. And I don't even really like Assassin's Creed, but that's
Hmm.
the one thing that to me was the big hook. It was like, oh, cool. So it's like there's this interesting sci-fi concept behind it.
Yeah.
You know,
I always
that's
liked
what
that.
makes it stick out for me.
Yeah. I always liked that. But the one thing I had with Assassin's Creed that always pissed me off is I'd be creeping up behind some motherfucker and suddenly I'm dancing off a wall. I'm creeping up, I'm going to slit his fucking throat and then I'm going to leap on this wall and fucking throw myself across that fucking street. And everybody's going, what the hell's that dickhead doing? And I'm like, why did you do that?
Yeah.
Needless to say, I was not very good at Assassin's Creed because I believe in heavy stealth. Nobody can report you if they're all dead.
Yeah. Right. Indeed. Um, oh, Jeff, out of pure morbid curiosity, how many shinies did you spend on that sound booth you're sitting in? About 8,000 of the shinies, and which 1,700 of that was shipping because it was built in Italy, I believe. But
Nice.
I will have a new booth within months.
Yeah.
This one I'm a bit sick of literally not being able to bring
Yeah.
my arms all the way up. I like to have freedom, and the more freedom I have spatially, the more dynamic I can be as a performer. I'm always looking for ways to improve as a craftsman. And the next step for that is just giving myself more room. So that bedroom that you see behind me, that door, that will be my new booth soon. I'm having a narrator who's well, I can't really talk about him too much, but there's a narrator coming out next weekend who's going to um, he'll come over here. That day we're gonna get hammered, but then the next day he's going to analyze my space. He's gonna like take take the data from my space, put it into a 3D modeling program, and start building out a new booth for me. And it's going to be much nicer. It's going to be, I want to be doing more YouTube stuff. I want to be
Mm.
doing more stuff on video, more streaming stuff. So I think it'll be better for that as well. It'll look nicer. I'll be able to decorate it the way I want to and do some branding and stuff. But it'll just be nice to have all the room I need, and it'll sound better and everything. I'm really excited about that.
I'm just thinking that the foam cushioning all around your walls all dead and sound, doesn't it?
Yeah,
That
yeah,
could
it
be
does.
bloody useful because I'm downstairs for these. I come downstairs because my kids are upstairs, fast
Mm-hmm.
asleep, and my office is in between their bedrooms.
Ah,
But I'm thinking if I could put some of that stuff on the walls, I could actually relax in my office on night time and not worry
yeah,
about waking them up. So, it's a thing.
yeah, yeah. Um, they're it's pretty crazy how just a little bit of padding in the right places will do that for you.
Yeah.
I don't understand the science behind it particularly well, but I know there are plenty of people who do, and so yeah, I would say find someone like that and maybe have them come over and give you some tips on where to put that stuff. And actually, those pictures behind you, there's a lot of sound proofing places now that are doing like custom pictures on their
The
soundproofing
tiles.
now. So
Yeah.
like you could actually have these, like you could literally have this same pattern behind
Hmm.
you with sound deadening stuff made out of sound deadening stuff.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
You could also use egg
You
crates.
could
I
also.
have heard that. I am more likely to get that one past the wife. Plenty of paddy in the right places.
All right. It looks like Harmon has sent me a Feetwix ad read.
Oh, we've got to do it. You've
So,
got to do it.
so for any of you guys who are fantasy online fans, here goes. This is my second go in 2 days at Feetwix. It took me a while to find the right sound for this guy. He's Swedish, but I didn't lean very hard onto the Swedish accent for it. I mainly went for how YouTubers sound and a little bit of the Swedish. You'll hear it just poke through. But like one thing I notice about PewDiePie is his Swedish accent isn't very strong either. You
Hmm.
know, it's kind of a thing, you know, that I guess YouTubers, especially with accents, they kind of like develop out of them in order to uh,
Sell better
sell better. Yeah.
and be
But
more usable. Yeah.
here goes a Feetwix ad read. I'm sure we'll have time to celebrate later. Hiccup, your fans still have a cake for you. Feetwix tells the goblin before dropping into an ad read. And you can celebrate too right now. Wall Macy's is having its February Black Friday sale at stores across the good old US of A. Oh, say, can you see all the savings tonight? How so proudly we spend because our world depends on it. That's right, America. It's your monthly Black Friday sale at Wall Macy's, and all prices are slashed, slashed, slashed. It's practically a crime scene in some of those places. Need a new smart fridge? Save 30% on home appliances. Need a new look after V-Day? I got you, cuz. BOGO! You know how much I love BOGO. Cosmetics. BOGO Cosmetics. BOGO, BOGO, BOGO. Does Nike licensed apparel and shoes are an additional 15% off. This is the fickin' way. Designer bags have all been discounted, including Coach Spade's newest collection. Say chic. Ready for some shut-eye? Bedding and mattresses are 10% off. It's February Black Friday, America, and don't you frickin' dare miss these deals. This sale extends through the weekend, giving you plenty of time to save, save, save. I might have to fly to the States myself to see if I can't snag something. Rick, wanna come? Sure you do, buddy. USA! USA! FCG! FCG! Mention hashtag Feetwix rocks on the Wall Macy's app to get exclusive downloadable content and skins on most video game purchases. Did I mention electronics are on sale too? No? Surprise! They are. Cold reads,
Fuck,
man.
dude.
Cold reads. It's like sometimes I'm like, what? How did I do that?
Dude, that's like that's
I
magic.
I didn't even like he just sent it to me. I was like, okay, here goes. I don't know, man. It's weird. Like I found out I can read upside down easily. like if I like I could take a comic book, put it in front of somebody, and do the voices for it in front of them, reading it
Dude,
upside down.
that's insane.
Like I never like practiced that. I never like tried to figure out how to do it. It's just the way it works for me now.
Fuck.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
That was fucking brilliant, mate. Well done.
Thank you.
I'm blown away by how fast and how different all that was.
Right, like you know that again. It when I say that I regret not being able to listen to audiobooks. I mean I'm giving myself a bit of shit here, but at the same time I'm giving the industry shit. Like, and it's not necessarily the people in the industry that it's the fault of. It's not necessarily the narrators themselves. It's the sort of incentive structure that's up. But you know, I came up in the same incentive structure, and I decided, no, no, I'm going to make things different for myself. And I'm just going to go all in and just be this,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think I just mentioned comic books. I'm for the last couple years now I've been like a fucking comic book fiend. And there's a reason for that. It's because I'm seeing in comic books what I wish would happen in audiobooks, where people come together who are just passionate about the medium
Mm-hmm.
and who see a future in it and will do everything they can within their abilities to make a piece of art.
Yeah.
And you know they'll go through shit. They'll go through bad business just to be there and to be engaged in the creation of this art. You know, and I want narrators to take on the same attitude that comic book artists take on, which
Mm-hmm.
is, and I don't even know if that's the case anymore, right? Like there was a time back in like the 80s and 90s when artists were fucking rock stars in the comic book industry, right?
Yeah.
Um, But it's not so much that way anymore, and it's because a lot of the money's been sucked out of the industry. People don't give a shit about Marvel and DC comics anymore, and they're like the biggest thing in comics. And it's because Marvel and DC don't care about comics anymore. They care about the movies. Even the indie publishers, they care about the movies. They see comics as a stepping stone
Yeah.
to get what they really want, which is to be in the movies.
Hmm.
And I think the audiobook narrators feel the same way, right? They don't want to be, most of them don't want to be audiobook narrators. And
They want to be actors.
most of the ones that do want to be narrators, it's because it's a cushy gig, not because they're passionate about the audiobooks themselves, right?
Mm.
They're not thinking, how do I, like, what do I do with this thing to make it special? They're thinking, how much time is it going to take me to get this job done?
Mm.
Is my method, uh, is the formula that I use efficient enough to make sure that I'm getting the maximum, the
Bang for the
optimal
buck.
pay per
Yeah.
hour of work for getting this done? Hey, no shade on that when it comes to, I want a career, I want something that's nice and relatively fun and easy to do and still make a good living out of it, right? Like, kudos. If you found that, you found that. But if you know that there's a path where you can make your name something that people seek out, and your art is something that stands out and something that people reach for, um, everything changes,
Hmm.
because now you're no longer a stepping stone. Now you're the final product.
Yeah.
And like, I think that even novels written to be screenplays, you can tell, and it makes it less good than a
Yeah.
novel that's meant to be a novel,
Hmm.
right? If an author, like, but what's interesting about writing novels is that pretty much anyone can do it, right?
If I
Not
can, anybody can.
not because
Literally.
not because writing good novels is easy. Writing a good novel is fucking incredibly hard.
Hmm.
But in order to write a good novel, you have to see it as the final product. You
Yeah.
have to say the
Anything
words
else that
themselves.
comes is very nice, but this
Yeah,
is what I'm all
yeah,
about. Yeah.
yeah. And I don't think there's. I think that a lot of the most successful authors nowadays, that's still not even their attitude, right? They're kind of taking advantage of the fact that novels are so accessible and so cheap to buy from the consumer's point of view, right? There's just tons and tons and tons of content out there, and people are just able to just go, 1, 2 novels a day, right? A lot of people are telling me, which I can't figure that out. I read slow, I read, like, I can skim, right?
Hmm.
But I don't consider that reading. I don't know how many people are actually skimming instead of reading when they say, "Oh, I read, 10,000 words a minute or whatever." Like, some people are talking about
Yeah.
ridiculous word counts in a certain amount of time, and I'm like, how is that even? How can you? There's not that many super geniuses out there, right? You have to be
Yeah.
a super, like, your brain has to be a supercomputer that memorizes text as if it's a photocopy within your brain in order for that to make any sense, you know? Or
Yeah.
they're just skimming and they're missing all the details, and maybe that habit that has been formed with people is because authors are often not very good. They have ideas.
Hmm.
They put the ideas on paper. They put them in the proper order that things should happen, but there's no enrichment that you're getting from the language.
Yeah.
Like, the particulars of the language are irrelevant to a lot of readers. They just want to
Mhm.
see what's happening,
Yeah.
and like, you read other novelists from, decades ago, and you don't get that problem as much, right?
Yeah.
Like, there, you get you can like read a paragraph and like sit with it and stare off and not continue to read because you're just kind of taking in what's been said.
Mhm.
I miss that from novels, and there's not a whole lot of authors who do that. And maybe it's out of fashion. I don't know.
Yeah, it's one of those things that some books do feel very rushed at times, and other books, I've got to say, are fucking fantastic. It's I do think that we're being spoiled a little bit in that things, as much as we're all pissed at Amazon the way that they screw us all over constantly, they also they produced a situation that led to huge numbers of us being able to write that we would never have ever considered, and that we would always been told, going to a publisher, get fucked.
Mm-hmm.
You're wasting everybody's time here. And you'd do it, you'd get all these rejection letters, and you'd just go, you know what, you're right. I'm wasting everybody's time. Very sorry about that. And
Mm-hmm.
you'd fuck off. And instead, we're getting to share the stories. I mean, I do agree with the everybody has a good book inside them,
Mm-hmm.
and that everybody has a good story to tell. I think that a lot of people should stop at one fucking book, and that the story that's a really good book in them that they should be telling is not the one that they've written. But equally, some people, that fucking cat every time. Other people, do you
Diva.
fucking mind? Other people, some of the books that I read of late, and I'm blown away. I'm absolutely fucking blown away. And you're skimming through, and you read it, and then you go, I'm just going to go back, and I'm going to just go over some of those bits again because I really enjoyed them that much. And I think it's wonderful. It is. I'm really loving a lot of books these days. What I mean by that, let's take the early 1900s before TV. Excuse me. Things had to be well described because you're literally painting a picture. Now people don't need as much of that because they know what a castle looks like. That is a very,
Right.
very good point there, Harmon.
Yeah, I mean, we're all saturated with
Yeah,
images. Like the internet has.
porn. It's wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, I love it and I hate it sometimes too, because people don't even have to work for their experiences, right? And they take their experiences for granted, and then they see such surface level um, pictures, I guess, the surface level concepts of the things that are out there in the world, and then they think they know what it is.
Mm,
Like all of us, they've read one article, they've seen one Facebook post with a headline, and they think they understand the material right off the bat. They don't need to read the article. They know what it's about. They don't need to experience this tropical island. They can see, they can see all the pictures this one family took on vacation. There's on in one sense, it's great that we're able to create this sort of very highly accessible nervous system throughout our entire culture, right? Our entire society, the entire world is sharing this sort of nervous system, and we're all able to access those things, but there's no substitute for the actual experience,
yeah, very much so.
right? And I think I am just as guilty as many other people of feeling that way when I look at someone's photos on Facebook. Yeah, I don't give a fuck. Whatever. I'm scrolling. I'm looking for something in particular. Yeah, I know all about island life. Whatever. No, no, I don't. Right?
Yeah,
Like that's the first thing that comes into my head. But all it takes is for a second for you to think about it. No, actually, I don't know what it's like to be surrounded by a fucking rainforest. I
yeah.
don't know how many nature documentaries I've seen. When I get there, to the rainforest, it's gonna be it's gonna be a surprise.
However, one all important point: David Attenborough.
Mm. Yep.
Like, obviously, here in the UK, he is viewed as a national fucking treasure.
Yep.
It's like basically, the Queen has died, and we're all very sad about that. But if David Attenborough goes, then that's fucking it. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
like during COVID, so a load of like protesters went and started protesting outside of his house for nobody really understood why. Because everybody was sort of the news was basically everybody going, "Why the fuck are you protesting outside of his house? You
Yeah.
know, of all the people in the world to protest outside of, you should be fucking worshipping this man.
Yeah.
And the general feeling was, if he gets COVID because of you twats hanging about outside of there, we're gonna fucking lynch you. And that was pretty much it. It was like we have the Queen and we have David Attenborough and fuck everybody else.
Yeah. David Attenborough, I don't think that it's just his voice.
No,
His passion comes through.
yeah,
He cares deeply about the subjects he narrates. That comes through, and that's why he's a national treasure. Acting, voice acting, narration, like, yeah, you can develop the
yeah,
skill and make things sound compelling if you want. But there, there's always, if there's a barrier between you and your subject, um, it's people hear it,
mhm,
or if they don't hear it, it's there's that lack of connection
yeah,
is apparent, you know.
definitely. I mean,
Um,
I've seen, I don't know how many photos I'd seen of the Great Pyramids at Giza, and going and actually seeing them in, like, actually physically being there, and it's fucking amazing. If you've not been, then it's something that you should definitely do,
I
because
will
just
someday.
standing there and just staring at this massive construction, it's fucking
Yeah.
crazy. Although, one point, you are warned beforehand. You pull up in the coach and you're warned, and the sort of the guides are like, "Look, the police here don't really give two fucks. The rules are you can climb on the first three levels of the pyramid. That's it. If you go higher, if you go on to the fourth, they'll give you a warning, and that warning will be a shot. If you go to the fifth one, they will open fire on you. That's it. There's no, because they're viewing it as at some point somebody's going to try and blow them up, and be a dick.
Right.
So they're really shit hot. So we were obviously all told this, and we get there and we're all walking around. Oh, it's wonderful this, and some young kid decided that fuck you all, they won't really do that, and he went for it, and he made it at the beginning of the fifth level, and they opened fire and were shooting at him, and he was just like dropped like fucking screaming, and he was dragged away by Egyptian police, and you don't want to fuck with Egyptian police.
Oh no,
Yeah.
no, 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 no
Of all the
way.
people in the world, yeah, the Sphinx was a letdown, very much. It, we went to see the Sphinx, and at the time there'd been this big thing of it had come out that somebody had done a test illegally. They'd taken a chunk of it and done tests, and they were saying that the majority of the damage to the Sphinx was actually from erosion, from being underwater, and that would make it like 30 or 40,000 years older than it was supposed to be, which was probably bullshit. But when they were saying this, they wanted to do more tests, and obviously the Egyptian government was going, "You've ran up and drilled into the fucking Sphinx." No, none of you fuckers are getting near it. So they had big barriers all the way around, and all everybody was talking about was this underwater? And all the guides are going, "No, it wasn't fucking underwater. It was made. We made it. Like, my great great granddad made this, right? You twat."
So it was smaller than you expected. Is that?
This the Sphinx is a little bit smaller than you expect, because the if you look at the pictures of the pyramids and the Sphinx and everything else, it looks like it's miles out into the desert. It's actually in the middle of the city.
Oh,
If
really?
you go on Google Maps and have a look at it, and you go towards it, and it's literally the entrance to the pyramids and to the pyramid complex has loads of like little shitty corner shops and all sorts, and like trying to sell you stuff outside, and it's mental. It really is crazy because of where it is.
Hmm.
It's just in a city, but they're very, very careful to shoot it from certain angles to get all the desert in.
Yeah. Right.
So, yeah, have a look at it. It's
Interesting.
weird.
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, yeah, I want to go visit, of course. That's one of the things. It's like I'm building this future for myself where I can do that. You
Denny,
know, that's I never imagined that I'd be able to do that in my
same.
life, but the fact of the matter is, if I play my cards right, I can, and so I should,
Yeah,
because there's not, we don't. It feels like we're gonna live forever, but we're not, and if you have the opportunity, it's a waste not to.
yeah. There's
You
so
know,
many things out there to see, to experience.
yeah. I
No,
mean,
it
being in front of that kind of history. I mean, think about you were just saying how vendors sit outside
yeah,
the Sphinx, and it's like, for how many generations have vendors been able to simply make a bunch of money off of whatever wares they're selling. I I have a pretty good feeling that most of what they're selling is garbage, because that's how gift shops work. That's how a lot of tourist stuff works. Is they're just selling nonsense that no one would want otherwise if it weren't for the fact they were right next to this thing
Yeah,
that's historically significant. How many generations of people have been able to do that
yeah,
just because that structure is there? And the structure has no other function.
yeah,
Like, no one's going, as far as I know, no one is going up to the Sphinx and opening a secret passageway that leads them to an elevator that goes down into some, like, secret CIA headquarters or something. Like, it is just a massive falling apart sculpture that serves no other purpose
yeah,
than to just be there and be stunning. And
yeah. It's
I,
it's one of
you
those
got to go
things
see
that
it
you
then.
go and you look at these things and it's just so fucking mind blowing. It's like watching a program the other day about the American Badlands. Obviously, being in the UK, I've had very limited experience of coming to America, but seeing that you can literally go driving around and just pick up fucking fossils in these areas that obviously
Yeah.
you've got to know what you're looking for, but you're passing by them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just fucking insane. It's like we have massive, we have old buildings. We have buildings from easily from the 1200s and 1100s. My parents owned one from the 1100s. It it's not that big a thing around here to have very very old buildings, but it's like we don't have anything like that. We don't have we have trees that aren't very old because we chop down literally everything to make warships.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not even decent forests here anymore. There's no fucking weird animals.
Right.
It's yeah, we
Yeah.
don't have that kind of shit here.
It has become a rock of humanity.
Yeah,
That is what it is now. That's something I envy a little bit, because the UK has much more human history. Like, you can go see these massive, crumbling castles that perhaps some of them were built not too long after Christ was, killed, right? Like very
there's
ancient stuff, and the most ancient stuff you're gonna find over here in the U.S. is like maybe from the 1700s, maybe.
yeah. We've got things like Hadrian's Wall that was built literally because I mean the Romans conquered all the known world and then got the north of England, found Scotland, and just went fucking no. They're all mad bastards. Let's just build a big wall here and pretend that this is the end of the world. We're not going fucking any further because they kept sending legions up that way, and all that happened is the Scots would just sort of walk around an hour later wearing new gear, going, "Nah, I don't know what you're talking about." That was pretty much their experience of if you send a legion into Scotland, you're just giving them free shit. Just don't. So they built this big wall all the way across the country, literally,
Mm-hmm.
Hadrian's Wall. And where it is, we've got in Shields, South Shields, where I live, there's a Roman base. There's a Roman sort of town and army fort that they sort of uncovered half of it. They built over the rest of it, and they
Wow.
uncovered a big section of it and just went, right, we'll have this one here as educational bit, and that's it. And it's in the middle of a housing estate,
Oh, wow.
and it's like literally you've just got houses all the way up to it, and then you've got like this square, like a block of land, which is just a Roman base that's the
Uh-huh.
remains of from I think from about 200 AD thereabouts, and then beyond that, you've just got houses all the way around. It's really
Wow.
weird.
That's cool, though. Okay, so Harmon, it looks like Harmon was trying to correct me here. He said Chaco Canyon, established in the 850s.
Yeah,
What what is? I mean, it's a canyon. It sounds like not man-made. What are you saying here, Harmon?
yeah. America's not quite 250 years old, and we aren't known for taking good care of things we here before we were.
I mean,
Dude, don't worry about it. We're the same in England.
yeah, I mean that may be true, but there's so much nature
Yeah,
out here in the United States that even the shit that we destroyed doesn't hold a candle to the stuff that's still out there in nature.
yeah. I've made banana bread. I'm going to get a New Year's. Fair enough. Fuck
Yeah,
you
I
very
love the
much,
man,
Harlan.
man.
We love you too, mate.
He lucked out. Chaco Canyon is a Native American city built into the cliffs. Interesting.
That's cool.
Hmm.
Well, I'm definitely up for exploring a bit of the world, more of the world, and seeing some of this shit.
Yeah, man.
There's a series on Netflix, I think it is, Ancient Apocalypse. That if you haven't seen it, it's worth watching. Just for the guy who does it is obviously batshit crazy. He's sort of decided it. How with evidence, you're supposed to look at the evidence, then go right. This means this, as opposed to he's going. This means this. Let's find some nice evidence that matches up to it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not quite the way you're supposed to do things, I think.
Right.
But some of the stuff that he has found and that is there is brilliant, and it's really old. It's really like insanely old stuff from the end of the Ice Age, and they're wonderful sort of creations that I'm definitely looking forward to exploring a little bit more of. So it's definitely worth it. Kyle, you're
Hmm.
currently in New Mexico, but not for much longer. You're escaping. You're being chased.
I don't know how much time I spent in New Mexico. I think I've only passed through.
I've never been. I've been to New York, and I've been to Atlanta, and that's it. So
Yeah, just some metropolises.
yeah, it's not quite the same. I'd quite happily explore a little bit more. My wife and I keep talking about the fact that in a couple of years' time, when the kids are a little bit older and a little bit, ready to see things, we'll come across and we'll take like a month off and we'll just get a big one of those insane RVs that you've got, because we don't have shit like that over here. We have caravans that are like slightly bigger than my dining room table. That's what we get. You put wheels on like a dining room table and pretty much just hang on to the edges. But that's like our version. So we're going to come out, we're going to hire one of those and just travel from one end of the country to the other and probably get very, very badly lost and break down, because
Yeah.
that's the way we roll.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's fun in and of itself. Force yourself into problem solving or getting drunk and forgetting that the problem exists for a little while. Ah, we're stranded. Fuck it.
We're stranded. Well, that's it. We're by the side of the road. We might as well have a drink. We can't
Yeah.
drive anywhere. 4 hours later, they're like, all you needed to do was fucking change the tire. Oh, so well.
Kyle, you're talking about in New Mexico. There's a con.
It depends, Kyle. I would very happily come to another big con. The only thing is that it's obviously literally fucking thousands and thousands of pounds. So I know I'm hoping, it hasn't been confirmed yet, but I'm hoping to come to Vegas for the 20 books to 50K
Ah,
this year
great.
and Dragon Con. So I'll be there. Are you going to go to Vegas as well, or were
Oh,
you
for
said
sure.
that? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm so out of anything I've ever done as far as like business conferences go, when it comes to publishing and authors and stuff like that, 20 books is the one. That's the most important one because you're not going to something that's like sponsored by a traditional publishing company, that's kind of like designed to teach you how traditional publishers want you to create your business or how to run your business or
Hmm.
what they're not telling you what they want you to write in order for them to accept it. 20
Yeah.
books to 50K is a bunch of indie publishers getting together and sharing with each other their strategies.
Hmm.
And that's the best way to learn from
It
all
is.
sorts of different people who do things all sorts of different ways so that you can take all the things that you find useful from all those people and leave the rest.
Mhm.
And
Because some of it isn't appropriate to everybody. I mean, totally different people do different things totally differently. I could mimic stuff that Matt Dinnerman's done and absolutely fall on my arse and completely have no chance. Partially
mhm,
because I can't draw and I can't fucking sing, I can't play an instrument. All these things would really fuck up my chances for there. Not to mention I can't write as well as he can. But doing things the way that I've done them has worked out quite well for me. So instead, I can go to things like 20 books and I can listen to Matt and others there, and you pick out, as you say, you pick bits and you go, I like that, I like that, I like that, and you build it all into your strategy.
yeah,
And it is a business, as much as we would rather it wasn't. It is a business at the end of the day.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you have to. I think this is more in the spirit of like this approach. The indie approach is more in the spirit of creating the art that you believe needs to be created,
Yeah,
because the monetization is something you build around the product rather than the other way around, which is you're building your product around the monetization model,
yeah,
right? This you going that direction, you're limiting the art more and more. You're creating barriers for yourself in the creative process that can and will
fuck it up.
prevent you from bringing your art above a certain level,
Mhm.
right? Whereas now, of course, you can do that to yourself, right? Of course, an indie author can say, "This is how I run my business, and everything that I write is going to cater towards that." Okay, if that's how you want to do it, fine. But again, you have to know whether you're the kind of author who thrives in that kind of atmosphere or not,
Mhm.
right? And so, yeah, I mean, again, 20 books to 50K. If you go there, you will find out,
Yeah,
right? You go to a traditionally published conference. You go to a place where traditional publishers are running it, and they're saying this is how the industry is. You're either gonna click with them or they're not, or you're not, and you're either gonna make money with them or you're not, and that's all there is to it. There's no
yeah,
learning. There's no learning other than can I fall in line?
yeah. And also a case of you might be at this big publishing conference, and these people that are there, you might have 30 seconds with this person when you bump into them in an elevator or something, and have a chance that you are totally unprepared for, and that you could have done amazing work with. You could have been fantastic. Instead, at the 20 books or the other sort of indie conferences, you can sit there with a beer, and just sit and talk shit. You go along to the conference itself, you learn stuff there, and you do it all, and you make notes, and there's presentations. But then
Right.
afterwards, you're sitting in a bar going, "What do you think of this? Well, I thought that was bollocks. Oh, I didn't really understand that part of it." Well, what if you do? And it really does help. I
Yeah,
think it
yeah,
really helps anyway.
yeah. I mean, for me, it's like it's cool to watch the indie market evolve. It's cool to see all the new authors who come in. I've been to 20 books 2 years in a row. I can't imagine myself stopping this streak for a while. I
Yeah,
enjoy going there as much as I don't like Vegas itself. I
that's
do think the conference is incredibly useful as a place to make business connections. But watching the strategies evolve, and honestly, the nerdy part, the business part, which is learning about the algorithms, learning about the
hmm,
Amazon algorithms. And again, as much as I think that's interesting, it's also kind of a big red flag for me. And another reason why I started my company and started my distribution platform, because I'm seeing, oh, everyone is trying to conform to the Amazon algorithm,
but they
right?
change it. They change it all the fucking time.
But they
What
change it
our
all the time.
understanding of the Amazon algorithm is that this is what it is, and on Tuesday they'll change it to this, and on Wednesday they'll change it to that, and then
Mm-hmm.
that. And your sort of section that understands it is going like this as well. So you're getting this is your target area, and you're narrowing it down to that until it gets to the point where the algorithm's totally broken, and you
Yep.
figure out the new one. It's no.
Yeah.
I have
So
issues with authority. I don't fall in line well. One thing I love about being self-published is no one can dictate what I can do in my stories. Even my editor only makes suggestions. Very much so, Sean. Very
yeah,
much so.
definitely my problem.
You can't.
Like I throughout my entire life, um, I haven't known this about myself for too long, but I've been looking for a leader to follow,
Mhm.
and I just haven't found one. I haven't found. At least I've not met one who will have me.
Look, Jeff,
But
we talked about this when we were drunk, right, mate? We agreed we wouldn't talk about this in public.
but you know, but I never thought of myself as looking for a leader because I've always just been the kind of person who, as soon as a leader starts talking, I find holes in what they're saying and figure out why what they're saying doesn't work for me. Right?
Yeah,
That's always my instinct, is to pick apart what a leader is saying and
yeah,
go away from them, you know, and like not listen to them. And
yeah. Figure out what
uh,
they're doing this for, how they're trying to fuck us over.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I just I'm always suspicious. The only kind of leaders that I like are the reluctant ones,
yeah,
right? The ones that are like, look, guys, I'm just doing what I think is right.
yeah.
Please stop following me around.
I was about to say the same thing, where it's a case of like you just like, look, I'm just trying to get from fucking A to B. Stop following me, you
Yeah,
bastards.
yeah, exactly. Those are the most appealing leaders
Yeah,
because they're not trying to sell you a bill of goods.
yeah,
You know, they may feel like they're better off without you. You know, they're
yeah.
not interested in making you follow them.
The
Therefore,
life of Brian. All I've got in my
oh
head now
yeah,
is the life of Brian.
yeah.
All right, you can follow me. We can follow him. Oh, for fuck's sake.
Right, right. I mean, because you're never getting their interests twisted. You know, it's always clear what their interests are, which is to better themselves, is to get themselves to where they're going. And as long as a leader admits that, it's much easier to
Yeah.
follow them because it's like, well, they're doing what they think is the best for them. I'm going to
Hmm.
emulate that because it seems like it'll be good for me too, right? And they don't have an incentive to lie, right? Which I think is the biggest problem with leaders
If
is
they, yeah,
they lie.
if they were just fucking honest, like we had all this stuff over here through COVID of Boris Johnson, the fucking wanker that he is, was basically having parties at the time. If he'd said, when it all came out, if he'd said, look, we were literally all in number 10, so our like presidential area, we were all working in there all day long. At the end of the day, we can't fully socially distance because we're all in this old building trying to protect the fucking country and lead you all. Yes, we had a drink at the end of the day because we were that stressed and broken by the things that we've seen that you don't get to see.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I'm sorry. People would have gone, nah, all right, fair enough. Instead, he would just lied all the way through. No, no, there was no parties. There was no parties. There's pictures behind him being put up of people going and having sex on tables. He's like, no, no, there's
Right.
no parties here. And it's like, if you're just fucking being honest, I mean, admittedly, he is a liar all the way through. But
Mm-hmm.
somebody popped up before just saying that the people who are in power are those that are least suitable for it. I'm a
Yeah.
firm believer that the desire to be a politician should automatically exclude you from ever being one.
Right. To me, this is the central problem, and you know, maybe people are going to get upset at me here, but this is the central problem, and to me, a fatal problem of democracy when it comes to running a country, is that the people who tell the truth say things that people don't want to hear, and that will not get them votes. Right? The people who lie and say things that people do want to hear do get the votes.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, your votes are a kind of currency, and everyone who's in a leadership position that's gotten there through democracy sold a bill of goods, right? They told you they were going to fix all of these issues that you have. They also told you that all of these issues are due to somebody else's actions. They pointed a finger at somebody who everyone doesn't mind
Mhm.
ostracizing, doesn't mind blaming. They get into office, and then either they don't do at all what they said they were going to do, or they actually do, but the cost of doing that thing was much higher than they advertised.
Massively so. For us here, I mean, I know obviously on your side of the water, you won't have seen much of the details of it, but Brexit, where we broke away from the European Union,
Mm-hmm.
was on the grounds that for the last like 20 odd years, every time there's been something a politician didn't want to do, their excuse has been, we would love to help, we would love to do this, but we're part of the European Union and their laws prevent us doing. And they blamed the EU for like the last 20, 30 years in every
Mm-hmm.
single reason they couldn't do something.
Mm-hmm.
And then went, hey, you know what? We should all be still part of that. When the vote came up and everybody went, you've fucking lied all this way. We don't trust you. Fuck off.
Yeah.
And
Right.
then we got
But
out and realised that actually they'd been lying all those years. They've been fucking lying to us, and we
well, they're
and we're all
probably
screwed.
lying. And here's the other thing: they're probably not telling you about all the actual bad things that
No,
that were there from you being in the EU. Like, no,
there's a fuck word.
here's my problem with politics is everyone who's arguing about it doesn't actually understand it,
Yeah,
right?
I don't.
Politics is a game that people play in order, and that game that they play warps the understanding of the world of everyone who they're pitching to.
Mhm.
The entire populace of an area is being misinformed because certain people want a cushy job.
Yeah,
And like if I'm going purely on theory, I've actually, I as painful and laborious as it's been, I've rejected pretty much every ideology I've come across and slowly but surely built my own. And it's based on just me observing the way the world works and creating theories around them. Theoretically, from my perspective, even if there's things here that are advantages and things here that are disadvantages, I bet Brexit on the whole has been better for the UK. Maybe we haven't experienced the better part, right? But you're detaching yourself from a bunch of other countries who have different interests than you and who don't care about your country.
massively so. The thing is that, well, some of this, the European Union is run by politicians. We basically had a
Yep.
load of extra politicians involved in our lives, which was a very,
Right.
very bad thing. But the problem that we have is that the guys that were in charge on this side are dodgy as fuck, and they were only being kept in line by some of the stuff that was going on because they were being watched over by the other guys and being able to be held accountable by them. When that was taken away, it just get fucking worse. It's just been getting massively worse here. But we're going to probably go into a nasty recession very soon because of the way it's all laid out. But there's
Oh
nothing we
yeah.
can do about it.
Right.
But
The
anyway, politics is a
the
bad thing.
right. The intricacies of what was going on, whatever checks and balances were established by the EU versus the UK's own personal government, you'll never actually know.
No,
You'll never actually know because no one, like, people have lives, you have a life. You can't give a shit about those
yeah,
things and like live a normal life and get the things done you need to get done within your own life. Like the depths to which all of this crazy political shit is happening is it's unnavigable. Only a
yeah,
person who's obsessed and wants that cushy job will bother.
yeah.
And they will
Or,
not share
I
that
mean,
information with the public because they will find out information within these entanglements that what they want is the wrong thing, but they can't tell their constituents that because they'll lose all the votes,
mhm.
right?
And it comes
The
down to, at the end of
truth.
the day, if
Yeah.
they tell the truth, they lose their job and then they have to get a real job.
Yes. And that's the last thing they want.
Yeah,
Because if they're in a real job, that means they have accountability, right? They can't just blame somebody else for the problems. They don't want
no, I
that.
don't know, they try.
Yeah. No, well, that's what I'm saying is it's much harder if you're in the
Yeah,
if you're in the private sector
yeah,
to slough blame off on somebody else, right? Like you are creating a product, you have a service that you're providing,
yeah,
and either people are happy with it or they're not. They're willing to give up their money for it or they're not. There
yeah,
is direct accountability there,
yeah.
right? There's no there's nothing that can be done politically. Like people have no. If people stop
Awesome.
voting,
Yeah,
that it doesn't matter because all they're going off of is a percentage of the people who do vote,
yeah.
right? If 10% of the country were voters, they wouldn't they they wouldn't like be bothered. They don't care. Look, all
As
they
long as
want is
they're
the
getting the vote.
majority,
Yeah,
you know? It's not a real currency. It's not. It doesn't. And the difference between voting and buying something is that all you're doing is agreeing and saying yes and checking a box. Whereas if you buy something, there's consequences to the person making the decision. This is
Hmm.
money they're spending here that they could be spending anywhere else. And that money comes from toil. That money
Yeah.
comes from them actually spending their life accumulating it. So
Yeah.
when they vote with their dollars, it's a piece of them. They are sacrificing something. You are not sacrificing anything but maybe your second coffee of the morning to go and vote somewhere, right? Like, and you don't even have to think about it. You don't have to understand it
Yeah.
to just say, well, my wife wants me to vote this way. Well, if I don't vote this way, Thanksgiving is going to be really awkward. Like there's all
Yeah.
sorts of different reasons that people vote that have nothing to do with the actual question that they're answering.
Yeah. Well, Kelly's just put up there that apparently US politicians get their full salary and benefits for life, no matter how long they're in. That is fucking disgraceful.
The-
I mean,
I,
we had the Romaine lettuce that was our prime minister for a little while. She booted out after like 27 days, I think it
Her name's
was.
Romaine Lettuce.
No, she's referred to as the Romaine lettuce because a Romaine
Okay.
lettuce lasts longer than her. She lasted 27 days, I think it was, before she was booted out of office. And she will forevermore now be known as the fucking lettuce. She was that shit. She tanked the entire UK economy, and yet she has the right of a prime minister's salary for the rest of her fucking life, and like armed guards and stuff like that. And it's like that is a fucking disgrace for
It is.
27 days work.
I
Oh,
th- I think the only way democracy actually makes sense is if the politicians don't get paid.
yeah. There was David Eddings years ago wrote a book, part of the Tamulai sort of group of books, series of books, and he one of they had this little island off the coast that was like a virtual paradise, and the way that they governed their island there was that anybody that was put forward to be the prime minister or whatever the role was put under armed guard immediately, because as soon as they were voted for, if they got the job, everything they owned was sold. All their possessions, everything was gone, and they were under armed guard for the full term that they were in, and they were responsible for making sure the economy did well. And if they did well, at the end of it, they got their money back with a little bit extra. And if it did badly, they got far less back, and suddenly they were paupers. But the
Mm-hmm.
things like the tax rate and so on were totally fixed. So you couldn't artificially boost it. So the only way you could make it work was to actually work your ass off and make sure things worked. And I thought
Right.
that was brilliant because you'd
Yeah.
just be like, politicians going, fuck no. You'd just be
Yeah.
going, I'm voting for you, pal.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like conscription, right? Like
Yeah.
like politicians should be drafted,
Yeah.
right? You
Josh.
should put people in office kicking and screaming,
Yeah.
right? And desperate to get out of office, right?
I've always just been a big believer that people like the head of, the trade union or the head of trade for the UK in the parliament should have some kind of backing from trade. He should have come up through trade. The guy that's in charge of the NHS, our healthcare system, should know the NHS. He should have come from there rather than being, oh well, I was once mates with the prime minister and I went to the same university. Oh, well, you get to run this? No, you're all fucking lying tosspots.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone just said something really interesting. Then voting for someone changes from a promise to a threat. I
Yeah.
like that. I like that idea because okay, imagine let's like create this a little township here in our minds. Let's have a little experiment here. Imagine a town where that is the way things work, right? You turn to government just like everybody else. You turn to government when you have a problem that everybody's facing and no one in particular has the power to fix it.
Mhm.
The only way to fix it is for everyone collectively to decide and appoint a person to solve the problem. And within a society like that, I think that the people who, and pretty much any other democratic society, the people that you want running things or people that you want doing things in a political way are the people who have experience managing systems. And that would be like mainly, um, gangsters or business owners or, anyone else who sort of emerges into a natural um, state of authority, right? Like, let's say it's a coal mining town. It's the guy who started the coal mining operation in the first place, right? Like this coal mining mogul, you know, who made it that, made this coal business what it is by taking care of his workers, getting the optimal amount of coal out of the ground. Let's say there's a problem and the rest of the populace knows this guy who is running this coal business that is the heart of our society, the heart of our economy, he's also the only person who's fit to make these political decisions that we need to be made in order to fix whatever this problem is, right? Not only does that guy not want to do that because he's going to make a lot more money doing coal mining, right? And if he's a politician that's not paid, he's going to be spending all of his time being a politician and not continuing to mine coal. That's also bad for the populace, right? Mm-hmm. They don't want to put him in that position either. But if the threat is if this problem doesn't get solved within our society right soon, we're going to have to draft you into this political position. And then if things get to that point, that's how he earns his way out. Solve this problem, and you don't have to be mayor anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Then
you can actually continue with your life. Yeah.
Right? Things are going to get done. And I would bet more often than not, things would get done before the draft needs to happen. Right? Yeah. Everybody in the society will have to say, okay, either we're going to allow the coal mining business in our economy tank for a while so that we can take this guy and put him in this other position. Either we fix this problem ourselves as a community, or we're going to have to draft this guy and lose all of this prosperity.
Yeah.
And that guy is going to go, shit, if I don't fix this problem, I can't get back to work.
Yeah.
I think things would actually get done in that way instead of all these games where everyone's trying to climb this political ladder that helps no one. Right? It's all waste. It's all administrative, changing hands. It's all people greasing each other's palms, playing a game,
There's I can't remember which of his books it is. Peter F. Hamilton has sort of like e-butlers. So you have like e-butler. I can't remember what the book's called, but it's like you have an e-butler, so an electronic butler like Siri type of thing or Alexa, but it's built into your cybernetics that you have as a normal functioning member of society.
Mm-hmm.
And when the time comes, you can vote through this, and it's sort of it checks over your reasons for it. What is it you want to do? And it basically blends everybody's experience together into the main sort of like the overmind type of thing. And then goes, all right, so we've got this problem. The overmind looks at it all. We all have a look at it. All right, this is the solution. Boom. So like an AI made up of billions of constituent parts.
Mm-hmm.
It comes together, it solves the problem, it breaks apart again. And you think that's the best way to fucking do it. Where you're all just, all right, we all had our little bit of a say in it. And yeah, we might not be happy with the way it's solved, but it's fucking solved and we can get on with our lives. Mm-hmm. And it takes all of 5 minutes. A personal AI, yeah, just like an RI or AI. I think that it'll be a good thing when we have that kind of tech. I think the only problem with it is if people are involved in fucking making them, because I've done coding and I know how shitty it is, and I know how fucking terrible I was at it. So,
yeah, at the end of the day, AI, or probably another unpopular opinion, AI is human. Yeah. It's made by humans.
Made by us.
It's tools made by us, and its DNA comes from us. It's been interesting watching people debate this whole AI art thing, because it's the same debate no matter what people want to, no matter what little things that are different here and there about it. It's the same debate as as the loom, or factories being made, mass production. You know, every technological advance that reduces the amount of labor that's required to create something, to produce things, to provide a service, has in the long run made us all richer. And AI creating illustrations, while yeah, it's putting people out of business right now, it's also um, the people that are artists who are smart are going to learn how to use it as a tool, and their art is going to reach even further. They're going to be able to take on way more clients. They're going to be able to style things the way they want to through their AI program. And things are just going to continue to evolve to the point where, you know, you're going to have AI artists who become superstars, right?
Hmm.
Like people who know how to use the program to the best of their ability better than anybody else, in the same way that people are doing that, were doing that, and are still doing that with Photoshop or other computer programs that allow us to make digital art, right? And like you look back at fucking even as early as 3D animation with computers,
Hmm.
animators were shitting on it. Oh, well, all you have to do is click the animate button and you're good. But everyone knows there's now that there's way more to computer animation than that, and everyone who uses AI to make art knows that there's way more to it than just typing in what you want and it generating it. You have to
Hmm.
get specific.
Fingers
You
for a
have to
start.
understand the language, and you have to understand the limitations, right? So AI
Yeah,
narration,
AI.
dude. AI narration is going to take out a big chunk of the narration. Um, a lot of narrators are going to go out of business in the next 5 years. I won't. AIs can't do what I can do. It's going to take decades for that to change. But it's because when I got into the industry, I was looking at what all the other narrators were doing, and I was like, why would I do that? That's so easy. No, I'm going to reach further. I'm going to do something that no one else can do. And that's the only way that you can remain relevant as an artist of any kind, is by looking at whatever the market is, whatever everyone else is doing, and saying, okay, what can I do differently than that, instead of going to the same watering hole, going to the same feeding trough that everybody else is going to.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to create something that cannot be replicated without, you know,
Kyle,
without a human, like
a
without
good
a
flight, mate.
human making decisions, right?
Yeah. I think that AI isn't going to go away. I think that it is going to be involved. I do think that it shouldn't be allowed to be used in art for cover art. I do think it shouldn't be allowed to be used in narration because that's something that's intrinsically human because it's creation. But I understand where you're coming from with it. I do think that it's a case of it will be used for a lot of things. I think
Mm-hmm.
it should be used for a lot of things because it will improve our lives and will help us to make things and to do things. I mean, for a start, as just as a brief segue back into the politics side of it, can you imagine if we had an AI that looked over it all, that watched for corruption? How many people would be fucked?
Yeah,
And it'd just be like, and I've been online for 37 seconds. All of these politicians are going to jail for life. And we'd just be like that.
yeah,
Welcome,
yeah,
Overlord.
yeah. But you know what? Politicians would be campaigning so hard against that.
Yeah.
And I think they'd still win, right? If you look at the discourse about AI art, it's easy to convince people that AI art is victimizing all these
Mhm.
people who are artists, you know?
Yeah.
And I understand that sentiment, but you have to sit down and think about it and be honest and say, okay, but how many of these illustrators are hobbyists who happened to be able to make money because they're just good enough, right? How much of it is just mediocre people no longer able to make money doing the mediocre work they used to?
Some of it I'll agree with. That some of the stuff that I have seen and some narration I've heard is fucking abysmal. and
Mm-hmm.
you think, that's it's the best that could be done at the time for whatever reason, but you think, fuck me, please, it's dead. But then others, I think that you will have a lot of people that are insanely skilled, that have built their lives around this, that have done a certain style, and that have been picked out of the morass to
Mm-hmm.
be, hey, let's they're successful, let's copy that,
Mm-hmm.
and their success and their hard work is going to be stolen, and they're going
I
to
don't
be.
think it will. I think people recognize, right? Like
Mm,
if you are literally typing an artist's name
mhm,
into an art AI generator thing, right? You say, I want this image in the style of this particular artist.
mhm.
That means that okay, let's say that a bunch of AI artists start using that style and it becomes very popular. Well, think of how much that artist whose name gets typed in
Hmm.
can get paid to make an original now. Now that everyone
Yeah,
knows who they are because all of these AI artists have been using their name over and over and over, you're the guy. You're the OG. And
I
if
think that some
you can,
people,
someone will pay you
yeah,
$2 million to paint them an original.
some people will absolutely do well out of that. But I think that what will happen is that two-thirds of those people that are in the middle ground will be lost. Will be fucked over for it. For a few people will massively win out of it,
Yeah,
but that's as much as I dislike it and as much as I don't approve of it. That's life, and
it's
it's not
life.
really something I can fix.
It's
It's
business.
like,
It's business,
yeah,
right? Like if what you can do is easily done by a non-person, by a robot,
yeah.
is it fair? Is it fair for you to say to the world, no, you don't get to have these things for cheaper.
Hmm.
You have to get them from me.
Yeah. It's one of those arguments that there's two sides that you never ever win with it. I've been considering things for quite some time, and I've come to the conclusion that I will not, and my company moving forward won't use AI narration. Period,
Mm-hmm.
and we won't use AI art. Period. Knowingly, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we may well get caught out at some point by some unscrupulous artist that hands it in,
Mm-hmm.
but the intention is that we will never support it. But that's the way things are today. That's with the information and the knowledge we have today. In
Yeah.
5 years' time, it might be totally different. It may be a case of for example, you have an AI that you're using, that you're tweaking, that you're running, that is building things underneath your work, that's lifting your work higher,
Right.
that's a servant to you, that's doing this. That we go, hey, this is wonderful. We definitely want to work with you, and things might change.
Yeah.
But at the moment, all you
Uh,
can say is on the experience you have.
the way I see the way I've decided to deal with this moving forward from here. I understand that it's a contentious topic. I understand that there are people who feel, strongly that AI art should not be used, right? I mean, okay, if that's how you feel. But the way I'm going to do it is if I use AI art for anything, it's going to be made clear in the description somewhere, in the credits somewhere. This is an AI cover,
Yeah, that should always be
right?
the case. Yeah.
Just be transparent about it, and like for instance, there's something like I'm pretty sure that we're going to go the AI art route for a project coming up, Earth Force 3.
Hmm.
I halfway through narrating it right now. The first two Earth Force books are available on the Sound Booth Theater Direct platform right now in both classic audiobook
Shemakusnitz.
and
Brilliant stories.
cinematic audio experiences. Um, they're all available there. Book three is coming out in March, and we're doing the classic audiobook version of it, and we're actually releasing the entire trilogy on Audible. It's been off Audible for years now. We're going back to Audible with it, going non-exclusive so that the cinematic audio can stay on our platform. But the cinematic audio for book three will be made, and it will be
Mhm.
probably releasing late summer this year. But that's at least 6 covers,
Yeah.
right? And the series doesn't sell well enough even to justify that, right? But I want to get it done, right? I want it to exist. I want people to have access to it. I'm a completionist when it comes to production. So Earth Force 3, the cinematic audio will be coming out, but I think we're going to go with AI to do the individual covers of each episode. For those of you who don't know, when we do cinematic audio serials, we have a new cover for each episode. Like, and book 2 is broken into 6 episodes. I
Yeah.
had to pay for a professional cover for each one of those, and it hasn't come near paying for itself, right? Um, but I would like to get them done a little bit cheaper, and the AI artist that Shemmer is working with right now is really good. He's good at
Hmm.
what he does, and it makes cool images. I think we'll be able to get good covers out of that, and we'll never. I don't know if we'll ever make our money back for it. But I want it to exist. I
Yeah.
want them to have nice covers. I want cool representations of each episode.
I can see
And
that with the episodic stuff as well, with it being when you're saying like 6 episodes in a book, because you're
yeah,
doing a normal cover for
yeah,
your cover, and that's great. And then but then you're not taking that work away from another artist, from a normal artist. You're saying, hey,
sure,
this could be additional to it, and that I
yeah,
think is a lot more acceptable publicly
yeah,
than hey, I'm not going to bother paying this artist that I've been with for the last 10 years who have done really really well and we've built this relationship. Actually, I can get this for a fraction of that cost, so he can just go away.
yeah,
That I
yeah,
think is what people are really against, and me personally, quite against that.
yeah,
But saying, well, this is something that I wasn't doing before. I wasn't doing an individual cover for each of these additional sections. Now I will because I can afford to do it through using this. I think is a totally different argument and one that's a lot more acceptable,
yeah.
as I say.
But it's all on a spectrum. It's all on this.
Yeah.
It's all on this. Is this acceptable? Is it not? Well, there's this variable and that variable, and like it all just needs to be negotiated between us as artists and producers and the audience. Is the audience
Mhm.
okay with it? Well, I don't want the audience to come along to come along with us with a product that they disapprove of, and that's
Yeah.
the my main point of let's be transparent about it. If
Yeah.
anyone's going to be mad about us making the covers with AI, then they can choose not to participate. They can choose not to purchase it, and they'll have
Mhm.
the information available to them that lets them know, hey, we've used methods that you don't approve of to bring
Yeah.
this to you, right? Um,
Which, yeah, was hanging my head in shame now. It's no, you're right, Kelly. It's not a black and white either or situation. It's all shades of grey, but then all of it is. It's like I firmly believe that all politicians you should be allowed to shoot them in the face, and yet some people disagree with this. Strangely,
like you can't explain every mindset out there.
exactly. I
You
think it's
can't.
totally reasonable, but
Me too. Me
some weirdos out there are fucking against it. All this murder, pussies.
too. Cheers to that.
I'm head in shame because I got a narrator's name wrong earlier, not about AI. Well, we're judging you here, Harmon. We are totally fucking judging you. Just for shits and giggles, we're going to judge
One
you
hundred
on that.
percent. One
But
hundred percent.
anyway, dude,
How
um,
dare you, sir?
is there one of the main reasons for us doing this in the Legion, for doing lives and stuff like this, is to talk about books that we love?
Sure.
And we've not really talked about that. We've talked about everything else in the
Yeah.
world, and we've put a lot of the world to rights. We've discussed politics
Well,
on both sides,
I'm gonna
history.
say it's your fault. You're just a fun guy to talk to. So
I get the blame for a lot of things. That's generally not one of the things I get the blame for. Usually it's fucking shitting in the corner, but that's it's the dog. I promise. Shitting in our shoes. Fuck, I'm
Rebecca
going.
Woods, not Jessica Woods. Rebecca Woods.
Yes.
Sorry, narrator. But
So,
yeah.
are there any books that you've read recently, or the audio that you've done recently that you really want to talk about that you've really enjoyed that you think should have more recognition than it has?
Um. Well. I just the things that are usually on my mind are the things that are usually on my workbench at the moment.
Hmm.
Chrysalis 3, I've just finished narrating, and it is currently getting Annie's voices put onto it. For those of you who don't know, last year Chrysalis won an award for the narration performance
Hmm.
from Sovus, the Society of
Yeah.
Voice Arts. Um, and it was nominated in the humor category for audiobooks, and Mel Brooks had his book nominated as well. So I was like, oh, well, it's nice to be nominated in the same category that Mel Brooks is going to win.
Yeah.
Um, and we won instead, which blew my fucking mind. Like I
Yeah,
saw the
totally.
nomination, I forgot all about it after a few hours,
Because
and
why
then
wouldn't you? It's yeah,
yeah,
you've got
great,
no. Yeah.
yeah. Uh, I didn't think we had a chance at all, and we won. It was pretty cool. It was pretty cool, and like Mel Brooks has always been one of my inspirations. He's a
Hmm.
great filmmaker, an
Hmm.
awesome actor, funny as
Yeah,
hell. So
definitely.
it was very humbling and surprising to win that, especially because Chrysalis is about an ant, a guy who gets turned into an ant, and it's his and the most of it, besides the characters that he interacts with, is this inner monologue that he has with himself. And I like the author Rhino Z is an Aussie, but I wasn't comfortable enough with an Australian accent to narrate the whole thing that way, so I just did it with a Cockney, sort of not quite Cockney, a little bit close. The Aussieisms kind of work with that accent,
Yeah.
and so that's how I did it, and it was a lot of fun. Like the thing about this main character is he's got a lot of excitement and he's very enthusiastic and he's just all into ants. He knows all about ants, and it's not like the typical lit RPG where the main character is like confounded by this new environment he's in, and whenever he's faced with a decision to make when he's leveling up, he's going and like, woe is me, I'm in this situation, I've been isekai'd, oh, I miss home and all this. No, man, it's like it's the complete opposite with Chrysalis. It's like I'm a fucking ant, and like, let's do this, oh, great, I know how to fucking dig now. It's like just this guy bursting with enthusiasm for his crazy fucked up situation. And like, I thought it was going to do well. I didn't think it was going to do as well as it did as far as like people judging the performance from, like, uh basically, I don't know what to call it, the orthodoxy of narration, the
Hmm.
orthodoxy of voice performance. I
Yeah.
I didn't think that anyone would give a shit. Um
Yeah.
from that end. I knew that customers would like it, but not critics. But lo and behold, we made it, and it was great. And so, the series has only gotten better from book one. Finishing book three has been great. I imagine it's coming out in February. February is going to be a big month for us because also what's on our bench is Everybody Loves Large Chests. Um, Stain Volume 8 is like this far from being complete. We're going to be putting it on pre-order, and then people will be able to purchase the pre-order. And it will release the same day that Small Chests Are Fine Too is also releasing, which is a spin-off of Everybody Loves Large Chests. That's going to release on the same day as
What day?
Stain. Not exactly sure. It's going to be the third or fourth week of February. We will let people know. Go sign up for our newsletter at soundbooththeater.com, guys, if you want that exact date, which will be coming up soon. But that one's from Fizzy the Golem's perspective, who someone else, Dory Sachs, has taken the role from me, which I'm very happy about, actually, because I'm getting older. Fizzy's voice is like up here, like the original Fizzy, and like it's at my age, it's getting much more difficult and more painful to keep
Yeah.
that voice going. So to do an entire book based on that character, I was like, okay, hold on, this has to stop. I have to give this up. This is too much for me. And Dory, it's funny because Dory actually looks just like Fizzy as well. When Fizzy used to be an actual gnome instead of a golem, but her voice is perfect for it. She did an amazing job narrating it. And we're also turning that into a cinematic audio serial as well. So the cinematic first episode is coming out at the same time as the classic audiobook. That'll be exclusive to our platform, soundbooththeater.com. coming out the same day as Everybody Loves Large Chests 8. And Everybody Loves Large Chests 9 is already in production. So one thing about this series is we go so deep into production that it often gets two ELLC at once, right? The crazy thing about this audiobook is we keep getting more and more elaborate with the production, and so it's kind of become famous for being delayed. But we're fixing that, right? We're just going back to back to back with these productions. Pretty much Everybody Loves Large Chests will always be in production until the last book is made. So we're hoping we can release 3 this year. So that's gonna be great. What else is happening next month? Well, I'm not sure what else is happening next month, but um, also something that I think people will really be excited about is that we are already in the process of creating the Dungeon Crawler Carl cinematic audio experience. I have finished. I have finished the first draft of the script for book 1. It'll be divided into 8 episodes. We have more than 20 pieces of music in production right now for it. We are in the process of pre-producing all the sound effects. I've cast almost all the characters. So there would probably be riots if I gave up either Carl or Donut or the AI. So I'm still voicing all those characters.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
I think in my crew we have plenty of people who can take some of these other characters and do a better job than I have, just because they fit their type a little bit more, and it'll be more rich. But we're also gonna go deep into 3D sound with this one. There's gonna be a lot of actually hearing things from Carl's perspective. So you'll hear, spatially where things are relative to him, and it'll sound like you are kind of playing the game as Carl. We're going deep. We learned a lot from producing all the things that we have so far. Kaiju Battlefield Surgeon was a massive undertaking, and again, we learned a shit ton from that as well. As amazing as that production is, Dungeon Crawler Carl is going to be even better. Even if you, in my opinion, Dungeon Crawler Carl is that much better as a story than
Yeah.
Kaiju Battlefield Surgeon, but the production's just going to blow everyone away. So, watch for that this summer, guys. We're going to do a Kickstarter for it and everything. So that's, I think, the main thing I'm most excited about because of how much music we're making for it. It's
Yeah.
just a ton. And, I get to get back in practice as a bassist. We're going to be making a plenty metal, right, for it. Which is just it's a genre that I can't help but love. Those are kind of my roots as metal. But there's going to be plenty of jazz too, jazz and weird EDM stuff and game show music. We're going to be heavily we're going to be heavily influenced by the soundtrack to The Price Is Right on this one
Oh
as well.
God.
From the set, no, dude, you don't
No,
understand.
the original.
Go look up the soundtrack for The Price Is Right from the '70s. That music is so much better than it has any right to be. It's so insanely good if you just listen to it on its own.
See,
Now
I always find
now
this weird because
I like
in
jazz
America
fusion and
you have like these shows, but we have them as well. But we have
mm,
like things like The Office was here first, and
mm-hmm.
then they did like another version of it over there. So your soundtrack for The Price is Right in the '70s might be totally different to our one from the '70s. So when I search for it, I'm going, "What the fuck is this shit?" And Jeff's going, "This is brilliant." I'm going,
Yeah. I think that just because I am a composer and a musician, that like I will have more appreciation for it than most people would. It's probably going to sound dated to a lot of people, but like I can hear the composition, I can hear the monster studio musicians they were using for those sessions. So it's pretty incredible. But to be able to reference that, and I mean, we have 4 composers basically working on this project. Me, Aaron J. Morton, Ahmed Mahmood, and we have a new guy named Eddie Zach. So it's just gonna be this smorgasbord of crazy, crazy audio.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, mate. I'm definitely looking forward to that. Yeah, well, when the Kickstarter comes, tell us. We'll have to push it. I go what the fuck all the time anyway. You're damn right I do, Jay. I am permanently in fucking awe and surprise at the world around me. The fact that nobody stabbed me recently, I think, is fucking shocking. I totally fucking deserve it at the best of times. But I'm very conscious that we've ranted like 2 hours. So the whole plan for these lives when we first started them was that we would do them for about an hour, maybe half an hour, if it wasn't really that. And then you sort of look up and you go, "We've been on for 2 fucking hours. Christ, we need to call it. We need to stop this here because I'm just going to drink a bottle of rum. Jeff's going to drink all of
Yeah,
his
dude. I
Lagavulin."
mean, I put a dent in this Lagavulin so far.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Yep.
definitely a good way to go. But
Yeah. Nice way to start
the
the afternoon.
damn right. The book that I've been reading of late that I really want to give a little shout out to isn't available yet. I've been asked by another author to be an ARC reader for it, and it's by Brian J. Norden. It's Quest Academy, and it's fucking brilliant. It's not my normal style, but if you've read his wildcard stuff on Royal Road, you know how good he is, and I think you'll enjoy that when it comes out. I know he's talking about it coming out probably, hopefully, maybe May, June time, and I think that people are going to fucking go wild for it. So I've been lucky enough to have an ARC copy of that I've been going through this last week, and definitely one that I would recommend when it happens.
Nice.
Jay, I've got to head out. Can I get told off by Boxy before I go?
Jay Perez, quit saying unnecessary things.
There you go, dude. The best part of waking up is bourbon in your cup. See, for a second there, I thought it wasn't waking; it was something else. But let's just lower the tone before we get started. Right then, guys. Well, it's 11 o'clock, so it's 11 o'clock here in the UK. So it'll be about what, 5 o'clock where you are, is it?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, cool. So I will let you guys get on with your day. Thank you very much for joining us, and thank you very much, Jeff, for coming on and joining us. It's been wonderful just having the opportunity to talk bollocks with you again.
Absolutely.
Um, Looking forward to Dragon Con and
Yeah. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
outrageous drinks again. And this time I'll try to be sober enough to actually remember much of the conversation,
Okay.
because last time I'd had 2 bottles of rum before I met you, and so you just
Yeah.
dragged
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
around.
We
I got
we
lost
we
from
gotta
everybody
we
else.
gotta start the drinking at the same time next time. That's
Yeah,
There we
that
go.
would probably help.
All right.
Well,
Well, yeah. Thank you so much, Jez, for having me on.
no,
Invite me on any other time you'd like. I'm sure. I'm 97% sure I'll be able to make it.
well, that's what I like to hear, mate.
All right.
Thank you very much, and we'll talk to you all next time. Thanks, guys. Bye bye.
Later, guys.